With the release of Stranger Things Season 4, viewers have been provided with some answers to their lingering questions regarding the horror-filled realm of the Upside Down. In this video, I'd like to examine what Stranger Things 4 has added to the lore of this frightening parallel dimension, and consider the mysteries that still remain after the explosive season finale. Spoiler warning if you haven't yet seen Stranger Things Season 4 Volumes 1 and 2. With a new Stranger Things season comes a new villain to emerge from the dark realm of the Upside Down. The ghoulish nightmare referred to as Vecna, who preys upon the troubled youth of Hawkins, struggling with past trauma and unresolved feelings of guilt. With the introduction of this antagonist came more questions regarding how the monster hierarchy works within this alternate dimension and what Vecna's place in it is, particularly whether or not he is connected to the powerful entity known as the Mind Flayer. It's been thought previously that a hive mind exists within the Upside Down and that the Mind Flayer exercises control over all living things in it. However, there is much more to it than that, as the finale of Season 4 brings to light. The end of Volume 1 detailed the origins of Vecna and the first encounter with the Upside Down itself. Vecna was once human, a child named Henry who exhibited powerful mental abilities. He was acutely aware that he was different from those around him. He felt alone in the world, but found comfort and kinship with the Black Widow spiders living in his childhood home. He viewed these solitary and misunderstood creatures as superior beings that brought balance and order to an unstable ecosystem. In fact, humans were the pests that were disrupting harmony, multiplying and poisoning the world by enforcing made-up rules and their own unnatural structures. He realized he could restore balance to a broken world by becoming a predator, but for good. He subsequently murdered his mother and sister with his powers and arranged for his father to take the blame. Thereafter, the infamous Dr. Brenner faked the child's death and began his program of experimentation in the Hawkins lab. Referred to as Number 1, Henry became the first test subject in Dr. Brenner's plan to learn to control and replicate his powers in other children. Over time, Number 1 became an orderly at the lab, whose powers were suppressed by a chip inserted into his neck. In the year 1979, he gradually befriended and manipulated 11 into helping him. After she deactivated his chip with her powers, 1 proceeded to go on a murderous rampage throughout the lab. 11 was able to get the upper hand in their mental battle and banished him into the realm of the Upside Down. 11 exhibited power on a scale never before seen as she tore a path into this other dimension. The origins of the Upside Down have long been theorized about, but now we can say that this parallel world had already existed, but after 1's arrival, it would see him and the Upside Down forever changed. After being violently thrown into this strange realm, 1 became horrifically disfigured and transformed, but he survived to become the being known as Vecna. 1986 was when Vecna revealed himself as he terrorized the traumatized youth of Hawkins. He was initially thought by the Hawkins gang to be a general of the Mind Flayer, when in reality, Vecna was the Mind Flayer. After his banishment to the Upside Down, Vecna wandered the alien terrain littered with electrical storms and strange creatures until he eventually made a remarkable discovery. One day, he came upon a swirling mass of shadowy particles. He used his powers to form a connection to the particles, morphing the mist into the giant spider-like form he depicted in his childhood drawings. Vecna would then operate behind the scenes, manipulating these powerful particles to his will, transforming it into the Mind Flayer, through which he could telepathically link with others in his bid to take over the world. The hierarchy within the Upside Down has been a persistent mystery, and though we now have some answers regarding Vecna's connection with this strange environment, especially as it pertains to the Mind Flayer, there are still some mysteries left to unravel. The Upside Down has mostly been presented as a dark reflection of the human world. Though it is a cold and dark environment filled with toxic spores, this alternate dimension seems to exist parallel to our reality, and is filled with many of the same elements of the real world, such as the same buildings, infrastructure, and forests. In this dimension, however, everything is in a state of decay and covered by biological membranes. These, along with the flora, fauna, and all other living creatures, are linked together in the hive mind that we now know is controlled by Vecna. This in itself raises some questions, as it's clear that the strange world Vecna first encountered upon his arrival was an unspoiled land bearing little resemblance or connection to the human world, meaning the environment was gradually transformed into a dark and twisted version of our reality. Exactly how and why the Upside Down came to be this way could also be connected to another mystery teased in the final episodes of Season 4, the answers to which could have serious implications for the heroes of Hawkins moving forward. While in the Upside Down, Nancy Wheeler makes a fascinating discovery when she notices her room is not how she left it in her reality, and realizes that time has stopped on an incredibly significant date. November 6, 1983, the day that Will Byers vanished and was taken to the Upside Down. In a recent interview with Variety, Matt and Ross Duffer revealed that they had debated on whether or not to include this revelation at all at this time, considering it will have no resolution until the series returns for its 5th and final season. Time itself has been intriguingly teased throughout Season 4, with the grandfather clock from Vecna's childhood home often appearing in the hallucinations he induces in his victims. And shortly before 11 sent Vecna to the Upside Down, he made clear that he despises the unnatural structures and rules that humans enforce upon the world, the oppressive dictates of the passage of time where humans do nothing but work, eat, sleep, reproduce, and die. Vecna wants to make his own rules, in a world where time doesn't matter. However, the world of the Upside Down is not enough for Vecna. His goal is to merge the two realms where he controls all. In the final moments of Season 4, he appears successful. As Will returns to his devastated hometown of Hawkins, he confirms that Vecna is still alive. Will can still feel his presence. Though the attempt to destroy him failed, he is weakened. Considering how much Will and Vecna via the Mind Flare are connected, I can't help but suspect that Will Byers is the key to understanding the mysteries that still remain regarding the Upside Down. Looking back on that fateful day when time stopped in the Upside Down and Will vanished, I have a strong suspicion that Vecna sent the Demogorgon with a specific purpose to abduct Will to bring him to the Upside Down. The fact that Will survived at all is suspicious, as the Demogorgon's behavior in stalking and kidnapping is not typical of the creature's devastating predatory attacks. And the fact that Will survived for so long in the hostile and toxic environment of the Upside Down could indicate Vecna's intention to have Will join him as they work to transform the human world together. When Hopper first finds Will after his abduction, he discovers the boy trapped in a cocoon-like nest with a tentacle down his throat. Since Vecna controls all in the Upside Down, it's possible that this could have been for the purpose of enabling Will to survive the toxic atmosphere. It may seem odd that Vecna would want someone by his side as he works to take over the world, but this is something he had already offered to Eleven. When Eleven confronted Number 1 after his massacre at the Hawkins lab, he reflected on how he and Eleven were different from the others. They were the superior life forms. In his mission to fix the broken world, he invited Eleven to join him in remaking the world however they saw fit. The fact that he made this offer to Eleven while murdering the other superpowered children indicates to me that he didn't feel a kinship with Eleven because of her abilities, but rather because she was an outsider. Even among her peers, she was different and felt alone. While this offer was ultimately refused by Eleven, I believe Vecna might have felt a similar kinship with Will. Even though Will is repeatedly targeted by Vecna through the Mind Flare, he has continued to survive, and at times it appears as though he is being protected. Now that Will has returned to the fated place of Hawkins, it's clear his enduring connection with Vecna will be a main focal point for the plot of Season 5. Regarding Vecna's plan, I find it interesting that in coming to the Upside Down and finding a way to impose his own rules and oppressive dictates upon this new environment, bending all living things within it to his will, Vecna has become the very thing he had claimed to utterly despise. And so I find myself wondering what effect his oppressive rule has had upon the sentient residents of the Upside Down. If given the opportunity, would they fight to rid themselves of this tyrant and to restore the natural balance of their realm? Looks like we'll have plenty of time to speculate when Season 5 premieres in 2024. But I'm curious to know what you think regarding Vecna and his connection to the Upside Down. Do you have any theories as to why time has stopped, or how the heroes of Hawkins could possibly defeat Vecna and restore order to both realms? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more sci-fi and fantasy news and lore. Thank you all so much for your support. And as always, have a very nerdy day.